Right there, you're seeing and hearing what some people call hell on earth. This, a natural gas well that's flaring, and you can hear the sound. It's as loud as a jet engine. Now imagine that sound, that image in your own backyard burning for the next week. Well, it's not just a hypothetical, it's a reality for many people living in Pennsylvania where there's natural gas drilling in full effect. Flaring is not something that the industry talks much about, but while we were in Pennsylvania, we managed to get an up-close look to this gas well being flared right before it goes into production. Now, all week, we have been focusing on hydrofracking and a special RFL investigation. Tonight, we're going to be taking a look at both the dollars and cents of fracking. Last night, we focused on the environmental, and tonight, the economic. We have shown you how much money is at stake of this, billions and billions of dollars, not to mention the millions that some landowners can potentially make from leasing their land to gas companies. But we also found that what some say is a financial benefit may actually be a burden to others. And Kim Lengel, who has shepherded this investigation from the very beginning, she joins us now with much more. Kim?
That's right, Rich. Tonight we're looking into Williamsport, Pennsylvania, a modest-sized city with about 120,000 people. In just the last 3 years alone, Williamsport has become home to 115 new businesses that brought close to 3,000 jobs. City officials credit the hydrofracking boom that's teeming in the region, but some academic researchers say these numbers don't tell the whole story. As we're about to find out, hydrofracking may actually be costing more than it's worth. For decades, Williamsport, a small city in Lycoming County in northern Pennsylvania, has been known as the home of the Little League World Series. In good years, its well-manicured Little League diamonds attracted thousands. But today, city officials admit iconic charm only goes so far in an economic downturn.
If we didn't have Marcellus Shale, a God-given, I believe, natural resource, our unemployment rates would be much higher.
I see young people who are getting paychecks now that 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago were on the unemployment lines, and now they're making good family-sustaining wages. You have high school graduates that are making $80,000 a year working on the wells.
About 3 years ago, drilling rigs, fracking sites, and gas well production pads began popping up in the lush countrysides that lie between Williamsport and New York. In those 3 short years, the gas rush propelled the city from stagnant to the 7th fastest growing economy in the nation.
This used to be the lumber capital of the world over 100 years ago. Now we're becoming an epicenter for a new energy revolution. New development,
Vincent Matteo is the president of the Williamsport Lycoming Chamber of Commerce. In his 31 years in economic development, he says he's never seen such rapid growth. How many sites around the county would you say are like this, where you guys are hustling and bustling to get buildings up to either house people or take people's money?
It's a large number. It's hard to keep track.
20, 30?
At least. And it's tough to find cranes in this area right now. So construction cranes, it's nice to see them in the city.
When I came in the office, we had 3 hotels. By the end of next year, I'm going to have 7 hotels. So that means 4 hotels have been built in less than 4.5 years. I think that's a good thing.
Republican Mayor Gabe Campana, a self-described pro-business politician, says the city's rapid development is all thanks to the gas that's deep below their feet, known as the Marcellus Shale. Campana says Pennsylvania could actually be more business-friendly to the gas industry.
This could go away. I know there's a lot of people who are saying this is in the infancy stage and it could become a lot larger, but I believe if government is anti-business, and I'm talking about overly taxing these companies, they can go someplace else.
Pennsylvania already has the distinction of being the nation's largest gas-producing state that doesn't impose a tax on drilling. And Penn State University professor of agricultural economics, Tim Kelsey, says the mayor's analysis of the winners and losers in natural gas development is far too simplistic.
There's been a lot of rhetoric here about the size of the economic benefits, and there are some large impacts on employment, on income going into the community. At the same time, though, it's very clear that there are costs.
In a study released last year, Kelsey and his team of academic researchers looked at where leasing and royalty dollars are actually going. They also traced how much money was going in and out of local governments as a result of natural gas development. Kelsey and his team uncovered 2 key findings that appear to debunk the theory that hydrofracking is an economic boom for the local economy. Only about 18% of local governments in Pennsylvania where drilling is occurring reported that their tax revenues increased, while 26% of local governments reported that their costs increased. They reported spending money on things like improving roads and other Department of Works projects. But Matteo and Campana still say it's all worth it.
You don't want this in your backyard. Well, what do you want? For years we heard people say, we need to bring jobs to Lycoming County. You know, we are tired of our children moving away. We're tired of the brain drain, you know, to the metro. Well, here it is. You have an opportunity.
But some would call that position on hydrofracking too convenient. And some have said it's easy to support an industry that hasn't encroached on your livelihood.
Close by we have the Fry-Moser well pad, we have the Lucella well pad, we have the Tome. Lucella's and Tome are roughly a half mile, 6/10 of a mile from us.
Drake Saxton and his wife, Andrea Young, are the owners of a beautiful bed and breakfast that's surrounded by gas wells. They're among the small but vocal minority that's been labeled so-called country complainers for their outspoken attitude against fracking. There's no hydrofracking in Williamsport because the industry doesn't find it profitable to drill in densely populated areas. But Drake and Andrea don't think they should be stuck with it either.
The people at the Chamber of Commerce need to get out of their office and come here. We'll let them have a little drink of water. I would like those people at the Chamber of Commerce to submit to what we have to submit to. We have people coming in our home now twice a week. They monitor the air. They run our water for 20-25 minutes. They take samples 2 times a week. You have no privacy. Your home is no longer yours. We're trying to work around that with our guests. It's going to have a very negative effect on those guests. We don't have to let those people in to do this monitoring, but then our house may blow up. The people in the Chamber of Commerce need to come to the real world and stop worrying about $1 at any cost.
So if you're trying to keep score by figuring out who's the winner and who's the loser, that is a tough one. The Penn State University study did acknowledge that even after you account for out-of-state workers, there was a significant increase in unemployment. But again, they determined that revenues seemed low while costs were ballooning even higher than revenue. Rich?
I'm curious, going back to Williamsport, the mayor and the Chamber of Commerce rep, do they acknowledge that, hey, listen, there's not a lot of jobs being created? They love the economic development, especially in nationally less than ideal times. But do they acknowledge they got to go out of pocket to build roads, deal with, you know, some of the costs and the questions of people to say, it's not just in my head here. Like the guy just said, I got people coming in twice a day. Who knows some of the other even economic exposure they could be looking at? Do they acknowledge that it's not without cost what they're doing?
Well, here's an interesting anecdote. When we asked the mayor, tell me how much is coming in and how much is coming out, he said, you know what, to be honest with you, I've only got like 3 people running this place and we never crunch the numbers. So I think that answers your question, doesn't it?
I think so, and I know we've got lined up a couple people that have very different opinions on the same question we just got into. Before I close this though, did you get a sense from the people of Williamsport, and I know you didn't take an official poll, if they were wrapping their arms around this or if they were taking a wait-and-see approach? You
know, just like you saw in that graphic that we showed, you could draw a circle around Williamsport. Nobody's drilling in Williamsport, so it's kind of convenient to be pro-drilling when nobody's drilling in your backyard. Outside of that, though, where the people have to deal with it every day, they're not so happy.
All right. We are going to dive further into the issue, not just of hydrofracking, but its dollars and cents in our next segment. And as a reminder, everybody, this isn't just a debate going on in Pennsylvania. New York State stands to be a huge either epicenter of drilling here for hydrofracking or a state that's going to be holding up the yield or even stop sign as it moves forward. We have 2 top-level economists, one from each side of the argument, and they're going to be trying to break down the issue for us as well. In the meantime, let's see what you at home have been saying. And we've been asking you to weigh in by sending us your comments on hydrofracking through a new webpage devoted exclusively to the topic. Again, just go there to rnntv.com/hydrofracking. And let's start with Yvonne, who wrote, New York State continues to miss tremendous economic opportunities as a result of the smear campaign by opponents of hydraulic fracturing. These people blame naturally occurring circumstances on the natural gas industry. David, though, disagreed, writing, No, you cannot turn back time. Once the damage is done, game over. If we destabilize the environment, we sign our own death certificates. A little strong there. And Kim, you've been getting some feedback as well, because we've also been asking people to tweet you directly, right?
Yeah, the Twitter's been blowing up as usual. Doris Davish tweeted me this: the gas moguls ought to be jailed for destroying the fresh water supplies, health of citizens, and where was the media for Josh? Now, if you remember yesterday, we had an interview with Josh Fox. He's the documentary filmmaker who created Gasland. And some other people had a few things to say about what we did with Josh. Jim Smith wrote to me the following: your piece last night would have been more valuable to the viewer if there were a counter to Josh Fox. He says, on balance, I think your reporting has been fair. Now, we should say Jim Smith is with the industry.
And to be fair, I think it's been fair across the board, because I'm still conflicted on the subject just like yourself. I mean, we talk about this. I'm not sure entirely how to come down on this, but we're going to be joined by a couple of guests who are going to try and make their points and maybe sway us one way or the other. Now, tomorrow, we've been taking this series, we've been bringing you all week long. We'll be putting it together in a special for you. We've assembled some of the leading experts on this, environmentalists, lawmakers, as well as the industry representatives, to help us shed more light on what is a really critical issue here. As I said, though, when we come back, we're going to be talking the dollars and cents. How much do you really know about how much hydrofracking could benefit or cost your state? We'll be joined by two top economists who have been, as we say, all over this issue. Stay with us, everybody. We'll be right back.